Stakeholder engagement, absolutely fundamental. This is Patrick Mayfield's model on the left-hand side. Categorizing your stakeholders, adjust the method accordingly. That's Patrick's approach. There's an MSP approach, obviously an MSP, and I think we refer to it in the MOP, but I like Patrick's model. On the right-hand side, those of you that have read MOP already will know that we talk about the champion challenger model. And the idea is that what we want to do is we want people to engage. Because quite often we used to get people saying, oh, you know, the process is too bureaucratic. We said, well, great, recommend how we can make it less bureaucratic. And the idea is that the process should always be the champion. In other words, we expect people to comply. People should comply with the process, but at the same time, we expect people to challenge the process. If you've got a better way of doing it, that comes up, you make a proposal, it comes up to the governance body, if they agree, it becomes the new champion. So all processes should be subject to challenge. And so we should be looking at ways to improve it. I think Toyota gets the most amazing number of staff suggestions in their staff suggestion scheme. It's a key part of their learning approach. Our portfolio should be a learning portfolio. We need to encourage people to engage in the approach. One way is to use the champion challenger model. And just another couple of practical examples about engaging people. In other words, the portfolio doesn't become something the board have decided upon. They're engaged in decision conferencing. Decision conferencing is a great way for senior managers to engage. But the idea is that we need to engage stakeholders more generally. How do we do that? Well, on the left-hand side, I mentioned Craig Kilford, my co-author. He worked at the Office of National Statistics. He was the portfolio director there. And I was asked to go and do some work at the ONS with Craig. And one of the things I noticed was this: you leave the office and you go out for lunch. To go for lunch, you had to walk along this long corridor where they had a white wall. So what Craig, it was a bare wall. Craig had these white boards put up with the ONS future wall written on it, with pots of paint on the floor and paintbrushes. I mentioned Craig's an artist, so he didn't do this. He encouraged staff, as you go to lunch, paint up what does 2025 vision mean for you? And so each of the projects and programs were supposed to paint up what they thought, what their contribution was going to be. So a way of engaging the project and program management community in the exploration of what the portfolio will mean. One example. Right-hand side is that was my office in London in criminal justice. We had a thing called the criminal justice experience. A lot of people experience, the police understand the policing, the CPS, Crown Prosecution Service understand their part, the courts understand their part, the prisons understand their part, probation their part, youth justice. Everyone knows their part of the system. Not many people know the system as a whole. And so we had this idea of you'd come along, groups of about a dozen people, you'd sit down, we would give them nice cakes, a cup of coffee, and they would watch a video of a crime being committed. And at the end of it, you would then go to the first office on the top left-hand side there, and you say, right, you've now arrived in the police station, and you show what happens to the case, how we build the case once we've arrested the person, how we build the case, and then you go to court, then you go to prison. Oh, so you started it was the lower left-hand. That was the case build, I think that was the prosecution, that was the courts, and that was prison. You'd walk through the system, we'd have junior members of staff presenting at each stage. The audience would be kind of walk through. They'd have the coffee to begin with. And it was a way of engaging people. This is the portfolio as it is currently. The board showed what we were planning to do to improve the process, what the benefits would be. We mapped the process, but it was a dialogue. It was a way of engaging people on the experience. What do you think of it? What more could we do? So it's a way of, what's called bringing the voice of the customer. It's a private sector technique, bring the voice of the customer into the design and ongoing management of the portfolio.